Frank teaches DevOps. Alright guys, alright. In today's video we will be looking at how to log in into Jenkins, right, with AWS SSO, alright, and using SAML authentication. Okay, so yesterday we saw we did a video on how to authenticate, alright, how to log in into Jenkins server from or using a GCP credential, which is also another form of GCP SSO, alright, as GCP SSO. So, and today we will be looking at how we could log in, alright, log in from, I think I have a diagram, log in from AWS. This is a user. This is this user is identity. I'll say user, alright. So this user has SSO capability, which is single sign-on, right? This user has SSO capability, alright. So this user will be used to what? Logging into Jenkins. This user exists only on AWS, right? It exists only on AWS, right? However, because we want to implement single sign-on, right, meaning that this user will be able, alright, to, depending on the number of applications that are available to this user, he will be able to log in to several applications, right, without the need of frequent, right, authorization, right, that is the need of frequent authorization. So that's what we will be looking at when we talk about AWS SSO, right? So we will be leveraging, right, we'll be using the concept of AWS SSO to see how we could make users that are resident on AWS to be able to log into to Jenkins server, right? To Jenkins server. Now, before we delve into the nitty-gritty, let's give a little illustration of what single sign-on is, right? So I have SSO, which is single sign-on, right? So now just let me just give us an illustration, right? Imagine you have a special key. Let's say here's my special key, right? Let me say key, right? So this key can be used to open multiple doors. So we have door 1, we have door 1, copy and paste, we have door 1, we have door 2, and we have door 3, right? So this key has the tendency, right, to unlock door 1. It also has the same tendency to unlock door 2, and it has same tendency to unlock door 3. So invariably it has the greatest tendency to unlock any doors, so we will call it a special key, right? So SSO is like this key. So I would now say that SSO sorry, I will say SSO is like this special key which you could use to log in, right? To log in into what? Different applications, right? So in the context of SSO, we have these doors as what? As applications. Sorry, let me move this guy down. We have these doors as applications. That's in the context of SSO. We have these doors as what? Application. So app 1, app 2, and app 3. Alright, so great. So SSO is like this key, right? This special key that you use to log in, right, to your online account, right? So great. So when we use SSO, right, you log in once. That's how SSO works. So once you log in once, right, then going forward you have frequent access. You have access to different apps without entering password each time you need to do that. So that's what we want to implement in this context. All right, so in this context, okay, great. So now let's look at the architecture. Let's look at the architecture of what you're trying to implement. Great. Now this is it now. So this on AWS. All right, on AWS I'm going to implement single sign-on. I'm going to set up a single sign-on service, which is SSO. Formerly it was AWS SSO, but now it is now renamed to IAM Identity Center. All right, so that will be set up on AWS, and all right, let me just explain how SAML. It will use SAML to authenticate, to log in, to authenticate to what? Jenkins. Let me just explain, give us a tip of how SAML works. So I'll say, how does SAML work? Okay, great. So mind you, SAML is a protocol, right? It's an authentication protocol. Okay, now assuming this user wants to use this website, we are assuming that Jenkins is a website. Right? So Jenkins is a website. That's the assumption. Now this user wants to use this website. This user wants to use what? This website. Right? Now this website now will send the user a special identity checker. Before now, let's label the AWS is called IDP, right? AWS is called IDP, which is an identity provider. Identity provider. Then we have the website, which is called the service provider, SP. SP, which is service provider, right? So now the service provider sends the user to what? To an identity checker. So this is the flow. So the service provider sends this user to the identity checker. Sends this user to the identity checker. Alright. Now, once this user comes here, let me copy and paste. I need to change It sends this user to the what? Identity checker. Now in turn, the identity checker right, gives the user a magic certificate, right? So this magic certificate is called the SAML assertion. So this identity checker, right, gives this user, right, it gives this user what we call a magic certificate. Let's magic cert, right? It gives this user a magic certificate. So now this user now has what? A magic certificate. Okay, this user has a magic certificate. Right now, for this user to be able to log in into the website, right, this user will now present this certificate. This user in turn will now present this certificate to the website, right? It's present the certificate to the website, and in turn the website will now grant access, right? It will now grant access to the user. It will now grant access. The website will now finally what? Grant access to the user. Access granted. Websites grants access, right? So this is the flow. How SAML works, right? So first thing first, right? When you want to use a website, this user wants to use this website, right? The website will send the user identity to the identity checker. This website sends the user to the what? The identity checker, which is the IDP, which is AWS in this context, right? So now the user is going to prove his identity, right, to the identity checker. So once that is done, the identity checker will now assign a magic certificate, right, to the user that the user will use to present the what? To the website, which is the service provider. Once the service provider gets the magic certificate, which contains the SAML assertion, once that happens, the website, which is the service provider, will now automatically grant access to what? To the user. I think this is the workflow, right? This is the workflow. So once we start going to the system to set up this process, you will get to understand it better, right? But before we go into that, let's pen down the steps in setting up this process. Number one is set up a Jenkins server. After that, after setting up the Jenkins server, alright. Number two, set up your app on AWS SSO, right? Alright. So let's keep it at this two level, right? Let's keep it at this two level, because the process is not that direct, right? It's not that direct, but I'll try my best to see how I can put all the bits in one place. All right, so the first thing first, I'll go to AWS to create an EC2 instance. On that EC2 instance, I'm going to install a Jenkins. All right, I set up Jenkins server on EC2 instance. All right, great. So we all know how that process, so I'll be skipping that process. So once I'm done setting Jenkins up, I'll be right back. So alright guys, so I had to skip the installation of Jenkins because of time. So now that we've installed Jenkins, let's go back to our whiteboard. So now we need to go to AWS to set up AWS SSO. All right, so let's go there. So I'll go to my AWS account, then let me duplicate this. So I'll search for SSO. Alright, so AWS has replaced AWS SSO with IAM Identity Center. Alright, so that's the new name. Alright, great. So click on it. So click on IAM Identity Center. So if you're opening the IAM Identity Center for the first time, you always see an enable button around here, right? If you're opening for the first time, right? So enable IAM Identity Center, right? But I have used it before, so I don't see that button here. Okay, so one sec, what's this? What am I not seeing? Okay, I'm supposed to see an enable button here. So the challenge I'm having now is, you can see I already have these this SSO, right, set up on my London region, right? So, and AWS, according to AWS, it says that you can only have this feature enabled just in one region at a time. All right, so I'll be switching region back to my London region, right? So I'll come over here, switch from Ireland to London region. I'll switch to London region. So this is London region. So let me go back here so that you see what I did. So all you need to do is to come to your search bar and type SSO, right? And you click on what? IAM Identity Center, and it brings you here, right? Great. So now, after coming to the Identity Center, the next thing we need to do is what? Is to create an application. Let me add that. So set up your app on AWS SSO. All right. Enable. Okay. First, you have to enable. If you've not done it, enable AWS SSO. All right. By going to the IAM Identity Center service, right? After then, set up your Jenkins app on AWS, right? Great. So I'm going to come over here and I'll go to what? Applications. All right. So click on applications, then you click on what? Add an application, right? So now look at, there are two menus here. We have AWS Manage and Customer Manage. AWS Manage, Customer Manage, right? So you click on Customer Manage and click on what? Add application. Now, what kind of application are you going to add? There are two options as well, right? So I have an application I want to set up. I want to select an application from the catalog. All right. So what we'll do is we are going to select this option. I want to select an application from the catalog. All right. Now you can read this. If you already have an application, you can set it up to use OAuth 2 or OIDC for trusted identity propagation, or SAML for identity federation. Right, so I'm going to take this other option, which is I want to select an application from the catalog. So once you select that option, you come to the catalog here and search for Jenkins. So the moment you search for Jenkins, you're going to see Jenkins will pop up. Select it and click on next. Now in the next app, you can say, okay, you see the entire app configuration, right? The display name is Jenkins, the description is Jenkins, and the IAM Identity Center metadata. So these metadata, they are very, very important because we will use this metadata on the Jenkins side, right? These are very, very important. Now move on to what? application properties. Application start URL though is optional. It's optional. Then here is the main part, which is application metadata. So here I'm going to be configuring the application ACS URL as well as the SAML audience manually. So what we're going to put here is the Jenkins server URL. The Jenkins server URL. So this is what I will do. I'll go to my Jenkins. Here's my Jenkins. I'll copy my URL. So this is my Jenkins, right? And I'll come back here and I'll paste it there. I'll say /security ream /finish login. All right. So you have to take note of the capital letters. All right. So I'll copy and paste the same thing. The same thing I put on ACS URL is the same thing I'm going to put on what SAML audience. All right. This is your Jenkins server, right? Now click on what submit. So now this application has been created, right? This application has been created. Okay, great. So now the next step will be assign. Okay, create an SSO user. Create a federated user. Definitely it's now federated. Create a federated user. Right? Step 5. The moment you create this federated user, an invitation will be sent to this user. Okay, this user will now accept that invitation. We're going to see everything. User will accept the invitation into what? The user will accept the invitation, right? Into the AWS organization, right? User has to accept. So we're going to create a federated user. Then after creating a federated user, we're going to assign the federated user to the what? Jenkins app. So let's start by what? Creating the user. So I'll go back to that portal. I'll come to users, right? Look at this status is still what? Inactive, right? It will turn to be active after some time. Come to users. So under users, I'm going to add a user. I'll give you the name. Let me call it Frankie. All right, Frankie. Then password. Send an email to this user with password setup instructions. All right. Now email will be Frank. I'm using my own personal email address. All right, frankiesinfotech@yahoo.com. Okay, frankiesinfotech@yahoo.com. The username is Frankie. Take note of this username is Frankie. All right, and that's all. Then that's all. Click on next, and we don't need to add this user to any group. It's optional. Click on next. Then finally, you click on what? Add user. Automatically, this user is going to what? Get an invitation. This user is going to get an invitation. So I'll be going to my email, right, to show you that invitation. All right. So you can see this is the invitation gotten from AWS, right? It says invitation to join AWS IAM Identity Center, successor to AWS Single Sign-On. All right. So here is the invitation. Hello, Legbossy Frank. So you have 7 days to accept this invitation, right? So I'm going to click on accept invitation. So the moment I click on accept invitation, it's going to take me to a new page where I will have to sign in and set up my password. All right. So every user that you want to have access, an SSO access to Jenkins, you have to add those users. you have to add those users on the identity center. All right, so the new password, I'll give you the new password as this. Okay, all right, now click on what? Set new password. That's Frankie. Now successfully created the Frankie user, and your user account was successfully created. Right, so let's just wait for some time. A redirect is going to happen. Okay, so this is going to redirect us to a new page. That's a Frankie user. So far we've just created the user, the federal user, and step 5, accept invitation to join AWS Identity Center. So we've accepted the invitation. All right, so the next step will be, let's see what happens. So let's see, take some time. So now we are here now, so we need to log in again, all right, afresh. So I'll say Frankie is the username. Next, then the password, I'll give the password, and I'll click on sign in. So it's still redirecting me. All right, so it's going to bring me into this page where I should set up. Is forcing me to set up an MFA, of which if I don't do that, I won't be able to go past the stage. All right, so I need to set up an MFA. So I have an authenticator app, which I am using a Google Authenticator. So right, so I'll select this other option and I'll click on next. Click on next. All right, so now I need to bring up my Authenticator app so that I can scan my QR code. So I'll come to what? Show QR code. So I need to scan QR code now. So I'm now on my phone trying to scan. I have scanned it. Alright, I've scanned that. So now step 3 says I should input one of the code from the app. So one of the code will be 553681. Right? Now click on what? Assign MFA. So the moment I do that, I'm going to have a redirect tell me that everything was successful. Alright, then I'll click on done. So I'm still going to have a redirect. Alright, so this is the page you get to see, meaning that this user successfully accepted the invitation to join the AWS Identity Center. But however, this user has not been assigned to any app. It says you have navigated to the AWS Access Portal. After your administrator gives you access to applications and AWS accounts, you can find them here. Alright, so since this user has not been assigned to any application, you can't find the Jenkins application here. So what we'll do is we'll go back to this SSO, then we are going to assign this user, Frankie user, to the application. Right, so I'll come to application. So under application, I'll come to what? Because it's a customer managed application, and I will click on the app name. Then you can see the status is now active. Now below here you see what? Assign users and groups. So we have to assign users to this app. So I'll click on what? Assign users. Then I'll go and select the Frankie user. Alright, select this user and click on what? Assign user. Right, so now that we have assigned this user to this app, if we come back to this page, where's that page? Where was it? This page. So if I refresh now, you see that Frankie will have the Jenkins app. Frankie is going to have the Jenkins app. Let's wait. I'm refreshing. All right, so you can see now Frankie now has access to what the Jenkins application. At this juncture, if we click on this Jenkins application, let's see what happens. If I click on this application now, let's see what happens. So it will try to log, it will try to bring up the Jenkins. See now, signing into Jenkins. Do you see that part? Signing into Jenkins. You can see this ACS URL that we gave. All right, this is Jenkins URL that's coming up here now. So it's saying that this connection is not secured. That I can say send anyway. So we're going to have this Scrum error. Is by default you have it because you have not set up configuration, a SAML configuration on the Jenkins side. All right. So at this juncture, we are done. We are partially done with AWS side. Right. So the next phase now, we are going to go to the Jenkins side. So which is step 7. Right. Install the SAML plugin on Jenkins, right? So let's go to our Jenkins server. I think this is our Jenkins server, right? So I'll come to what? Manage Jenkins, then I'll come to what? Plugins. I'll go to plugins, I'll come to available plugins, and I'll search for SAML. So on SAML, I'll just check this first one, which is authentication and user management. This first one, right? Then click on install. All right, so it has been installed. So I'll go back to manage Jenkins, and I'll come to security, go to security, and I'll set up SAML. All right, I'll set up my security realm. So I'll come to my whiteboard, which is step 8. Configure the SAML plugin. Configure a SAML plugin. So I'll come to Jenkins, and I'll come to this manage Jenkins, then security. Under security, I'll come to what? Security realm. So in security realm, I'll change the value to what? SAML 2.0, right? So once I pick 2.0, this, all of these, I'll have the SAML 2.0 configurations, right? So I need to input a lot of information here. So the first information will be the IDP metadata URL. So how do I get this? I'll go back to AWS. So on AWS, all right, this is my app. On this your app, come to actions. Under actions, click on edit configuration, right? There's one thing we've not done: edit attribute mappings, right? Let's finish this edit configuration. I'll come back to what? Edit attribute mappings. So click on edit configuration. All right, so now under edit configuration, you can see this identity center metadata. All right, so this is the first part that we need to set up, which is identity. I am identity center SAML metadata file. So I'll copy this metadata file, I'll copy it, and I'll go to my Jenkins, and I'll impute it here. That's the value. I'll paste it there. Once I paste it there, this guy will go off. This error will go off. That's gone off. All right, great. Refresh period, you can leave it at 0. Then display name attribute, that's okay. Group attribute, that's okay. Now username attribute, you have to type username, right? Then email attribute, you have to type email. Okay, now what else? Now log out URL. So I'll go back to that my app, which is here. I'll look out for what? Logout URL. Logout URL should be somewhere. All right, this is sign out URL. That's what we need. All right, so I'll copy this sign out URL. Yeah, I think that's what we need. Okay, sign out, right? Sign out. So I'll copy this guy. That's the guy. That's the guy for sign out, right? So I'll copy it. Then I'll go to Jenkins. Then I'll paste it here. Now we need to test this connection. Where is that part? There's somewhere to test. So somewhere. Okay, we need to validate. So I need to validate. Click on validate IDP metadata URL. So once you click on this, everything goes well, we should get a success. So you can see we are getting a success. So everything is making sense, right? So we are almost done, guys. You're almost done. Click on apply and save. So click on apply and save. All right. Click on apply and save. Great. So the next thing we need to do now is configure a SAML plugin. The ninth step is to edit attributes, edit the Jenkins app attributes settings, attribute mappings. Right? Alright. So I'll go to my AWS, right? Then I'll come to applications, customer manage, check this box, come to actions. Oh no, not here. Click on the application. So you have to click on the application, then you come to actions. You see what? Edit attribute mappings, right? So open there, and we need to set up one or two things. All right. So on format, I'll change this format to persistent. Then I'm going to leave username as this, URL. Then I'm going to add another attribute field, add new attribute mapping. So this attribute mapping is going to be group. Then the value will be $ open brace user colon AD_GUID close brace. All right. And then the format will be basic. That's all, guys. That's all. So click on save. Let me see if everything is well. Email, name, authenticated users. All right. So click on save changes. Now let's come back to this page. Where was that page that didn't allow us? Okay, this page now. All right. So this page. So if I refresh this page, look at what will happen now. I refresh this page. Refresh. It's telling me security, whatever. Continue anyway. Okay, so let's see what happens. You can see now, I now have my Jenkins. So this is my app. So I'll click on this app and see. I click on app. It's trying to sign into Jenkins. Click on send anyway. Right, you can see we have been able to log into Jenkins. So simple. That's it, guys. That's it. You can see my name here, Lake Bossy Frank. That's the name. That's it. So far so good. We have just implemented a single sign-on with Jenkins using SAML authentication. SAML authentication. All right. So this is it, guys. This is it. So simple and straightforward. I hope you've enjoyed this session. And before I say word of thanks, you can see let's can see all this process now. All right. So now what just happened is what I explained earlier. This user wants to make use of this website, which is a service provider. This user sends this website sends the user to the identity checker, which is the IDP. Right now, the user presents his identity to the identity checker. So the identity checker checks the user, all right, and gives the user a magic certificate, right, which is called SAML assertion. So once that the IDP gives the user a magic certificate, right, the user now presents this magic certificate to the website. Once it presents this magic certificate to the website authenticates it and grants access grant access to the user. So that's what just happened here. Sorry, if I refresh this page now, this admin will go off. You can see admin doesn't have access here again. So that's what just happened here. So far so good, guys. I want to thank you so much, and I would love to see us in our next video episode. All right, so like our normal routine, help us to share our videos within your community so that they will subscribe. All right, and put good words, man. Put good words across, guys. All right, put good words. And yeah, that's all, guys. That's all. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.